Have you ever been walking down the street and felt like somebody was watching you? Maybe you were brushing your teeth, taking a shower, or just putting away something in the garage, and you hear something stir in the room with you.
Is someone there with you?
This movie preys on all of those fears and then some, and does it in a very unsettling way. Let's get into it. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a sort of found footage film that's more of a point of view, so point of view film from the perspective of a killer who is going around doing some pretty crazy stuff that'll make you feel a little uncomfortable about being susceptible in your own home. This movie is called Looky-loo. And it is not out yet, but Screen Time Releasing is going to be putting it out, and you can pre-order the disc, which I'll put a link down for you below. If you are a found footage fan, I think this will fall into that place. It's not exactly found footage because these are like the tapes that you would find in, like, say, the movie's Creep. This is very much in that vein, but this has no talking. It's really just being like on a roller coaster ride with a killer who is going in and out of people's houses to kill people. And he is a aspiring filmmaker too. So he stalks women with his camera, and then eventually his crimes sort of escalate to like voyeurism, and then it eventually becomes murder as he becomes obsessed with any women who are named Courtney, and he wants to make them the star in his deranged film. So I reached out to the filmmakers on this one to watch a copy of this, and thank you so much for allowing me to check this out ahead of time. This is from director Jason Zink, who did the Straight Edge Kager movie, and he also did Night Terrors, which I believe was an anthology. I'm not 100% sure. And then we have writer Nolan Mihail, who is a writer, but this is his first feature film that he's actually written on. I think he did another short, and he also did the voice of the killer in this movie for just like a brief moment. But I didn't really know anything about the film whatsoever, so I just went in completely blind. To be honest, at first, I wasn't really feeling the movie. It's a movie that takes place with a guy who you never see his face going around from place to place filming things, and eventually it gets into a little bit more, like I said, voyeuristic stuff, and then eventually it gets darker and darker and darker as things progressively get worse. And at first I was just kind of like a little bored by this, but as I started to notice things getting worse and worse and worse, I started to become more wrapped up in it. I also started to notice things in the film that were like items in the house that you might have in your home that might be a little ironic seeing on the wall when there's a guy kind of like roaming around in your house while you have no idea. In your most susceptible moments is a very weird feeling to have while watching through the killer's eyes, because at first you really feel like he's not the type to do this kind of thing, and then eventually things get worse. Now, there isn't necessarily any kind of story involved. There isn't any kind of like real narrative that's going on. You're just kind of following this guy for about an hour and 23 minutes. I wouldn't say it's an analog film or whatever like that, you know, but it does kind of have that in a violent nature vibe about it, where you're just kind of watching where he is and what he's doing, sneaking in and out of houses and catching dialogue as it goes on. There really isn't that much dialogue spoken from a lot of the different actors or anything, but it is really intense and visceral at some moments. There were moments in this movie that were not cut, at least to my knowledge, that I literally wondered how they got away with it because there was no cuts. They're doing things and killing people in ways in this movie that seem shocking. They're not up close. They're not like, you know, these aren't like necessarily gore movies or anything like that, but it is visceral and it is intense because it feels very real. It almost feels like a snuff film in a lot of ways because of that. Now, I've seen worse types of film with this kind of style going on. You know, I've seen more intense, more violent, more bloody, but this one feels like on a very real level, and to be able to accomplish that is pretty crazy. There were some things that happened in the movie, like I was pointing out, that might be ironic to the situation at hand, with a woman being in a house, being stalked by a man, and there's a painting on the wall that says, you know, today's gonna be the day, meaning like some cheer up thing that you see in the morning when you have your coffee and you look at the wall and you say, yeah, today's gonna be the day, while this guy's simultaneously walking through the house. There are little things throughout the entire movie like that in this film, and they add a sense of like defilement. You know, this is your personal place, and it definitely feels like a guy is going through your personal belongings, and there's moments in the film that they really press on that. And I think those are really smart things to add in the film, and it makes you feel that sort of like, I don't know if I feel right about this, but you're on the ride anyway, and you just kind of have to go with it. I don't think everybody's going to just love this film. I think it's going to be for a specific type of audience. I don't think it's like some try-hard film that's like trying to be the most grotesque or messed up film out there, but it does have some imaging that is very bloody and violent, and it could make people feel, you know, pretty messed up the same way, just not as like exploitative, I guess. You know, I've seen a lot of these films like August Underground and things like that. This does not feel like that type of movie. It feels real, but not going beyond and above to try to like shock and awe people. Now, this isn't my favorite movie I've ever seen or anything like that, but if you are a found footage kind of person, live footage, any kind of footage fan, this is definitely going to be something that you might want to check out for yourself. This is more in a serial killer kind of vibe, more realistic vibe. In fact, I actually kind of remember a movie called Hangman, which was like a found footage movie about a guy who's in somebody's house living in there, and then he like goes after them. I got vibes of that in this. It's similar in some respects, but not exactly. The way the killer was going around killing, I really kind of wondered how they logistically got away with doing it. Like I said, there was no cuts or anything like that, so I kind of wondered how they did it. So they do a really good job of making it seem realistic. Now, I wasn't a big fan of the ending, so to speak, but it makes sense. I just think it was like crescendoing towards something different. It does something that I was not expecting. Maybe I got it mixed up in my head as to what I was like hoping to see. So I can't really fault it for that, but it didn't really have the best ending for my particular taste. But I think what the film set out to do, which was to make you nervous about your personal space, does this very well. And I think it needs to be applauded for that. Whether they take this movie as a whole and say, this is my masterpiece, or they use these elements and putting in another movie, you know, as sort of like a stepping stone into something bigger and better, I think that it needs to be applauded for what it did here. I would give this movie about a 7 out of 10. There is no talking in it. If you have an adverse reaction to no dialogue, then yeah, it's probably not going to be for you. Like I said, I would think of like In a Violent Nature when it comes to that, and also the movie Hangman. They kind of have that vibe about it, but not the glorious kills or anything like that. It just feels real. 7 out of 10, I think, is a really good score for something like this. I'm assuming that it really didn't cost too much money, and that's actually something to applaud it for, because they did so much with so little. Honestly, that's what you really should be doing as a filmmaker, is trying to think within your means to do something really good and make it work. And I think this movie does that in that way. Maybe it's not the perfect movie for me. I still think there's goods in here, and some people might like it more than me anyway, because we all like different stuff. If you want to check it out, it's not out yet. It will be coming. Scream Team is going to be releasing this. But for now, if you want to pre-order the movie, you can on Blu-ray or VHS on their website, which I put a link down below for. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Is this something that you would be willing to watch? Like I said, it may not be for everybody, but thank you guys so much for coming by. And as always, long live the void.